Hey y'all! Today we're making classic Creole-style creamy pralines. So let's get started. I like both pecan halves and pieces in my pralines, so after toasting about 1.5 cups of pecan halves, rough chop about 1/3 cup of the cool pecans and set the halves and pieces aside. Next, you want to paint the inside of your heavy saucepan with softened butter before starting. This helps to prevent sugar crystallization because the goal is a creamy, smooth, shiny, melt-in-your-mouth praline. So let's start the cooking process by adding to the saucepan 3/4 cup of granulated pure cane sugar. We're also going to add 1 cup of packed light brown sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of iodized salt, 1 tablespoon of light corn syrup. This also helps decrease crystallization. And finally, 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of evaporated milk. Now, the evaporated milk is essential if you are actually making authentic Creole pralines. Now, you want to start out with a low heat and you want to mix the sugar and the milk slowly and avoid as much as possible splashing the mixture around the sides. And this slow incorporation of the milk and the slow melting of the sugar helps to achieve that creamy and smooth praline. You see, I'm basically just agitating the mixture. And once you start mixing, you should not stop mixing for longer than 30 to 45 seconds. This is not like making candy with sugar and water where you leave it to boil. You have to continually stir pralines because you've added dairy to it. Now, you see how the mixture is becoming smooth and shiny? That's what you want. You'll be able to feel when to increase the temperature to medium because the sugar coarseness decreases. And the mixture will look smooth like caramel. Now, once the candy is smooth and the sugar is melted, you want to turn the heat to medium and slowly bring the candy to a boil. Don't forget to stir constantly. Cook until the mixture reaches between 242 and 245 degrees Fahrenheit, and an inexpensive candy thermometer is a good investment. And once the candy reaches temperature, immediately remove it from the heat and then mix in your butter, your vanilla, and your pecans. Now, you may get a bit of bubbling, but that's okay. It shouldn't bubble over. And then once you have your vanilla and your butter and your pecans mixed in, let the mixture sit undisturbed for about 1 minute. Now, normally I would use a wide silicone spatula for whipping the candy, but I'm using a spoon so y'all can really see what happens when you whip the candy and it starts hardening. So after a minute, start whipping your candy at 30-second intervals. This helps to cool it down. See, this is still pretty loose, so whip for another 30 seconds. You're going to start feeling it getting thicker and stiffer. The secret is to get at just the right stiffness. See, it's a little bit thicker than last time. So whip for another 30 seconds. Now, how many times you do the 30-second whip, 30-second rest combination will depend on the weather, the altitude, how slowly you bring your candy to boil, and how you want them to look. For thinner candy, you drop the pralines when the candy mixture is looser. For thicker candy, you drop it when it's stiffer. We're going to do some of both so you can see what I'm talking about. So drop heaping tablespoons and watch how they spread. Make sure you get a heaping of pecans in each candy. Now, you don't have to go so fast that you burn yourself, but don't tarry neither. This right here is a regular cookie sheet lined with a silicone pad, or you can line it with newspaper and some wax paper. Do not butter the wax paper. They're not going to stick. Y'all will see what I'm talking about. Now, you see this thickness right here? This is the thickness when most of us down here start dropping. It's not so thin that they have a wide spread like the earlier ones, and not so stiff that they dull and hard to drop. You see how it's hardly any spread to them? These are going to look like the thicker candy with the stacked pecans that most people associate with pralines. I'm going to drop some of these candies in between a couple of the other ones so you can get an idea about spreadability. Now, this little bit of candy with hardly no pecans, we don't serve these. We'll crunch these up and put it on ice cream. So see how nice, creamy, and shiny they are? Put them in a cool, dry place and let them harden over a few hours. And depending on where you live and the weather, it may take several hours for the candy to harden. Now, see how easy they come loose from the wax paper? This is a more thin one. Yum. This one right here is a little thicker. You see it has that dry bottom and that shiny top. This one right here is just a little bit thicker. So it just depends on what you like. But either way, thick or thin, they're delicious. And there you have it. Creamy Creole pralines. Give them a try. And remember, when you mix a little bit of Creole with a little bit of Cajun, that's good eating. See y'all next time.